Hello guys, welcome back to Patrones Mujer. I'll be sharing with you a tutorial how to make this jacket, and you can find this pattern on the magazine Patrones Infantiles number 17. Having said that, let's get started. We'll take pen and paper to write down the materials. Once we have the patent resin from the magazine, we'll cut along the side line that we make. These are finished patterns, which means they have 1 cm seams, hems, and cut with notches and roll lines. Okay, let's check the pieces. These are the pieces from the front. This is the piece from the back. These are the pieces from the pocket and the lining. These are the pieces from the collar. These are the pieces from the back. And this is the inner pieces. The sleeves and the front and back sleeve and the bias. We're going to start with the piece of the pocket. We're going to fold in half and we're going to sew the bias, and then we're going to fold again, face the right, and we're going to close on the sides. On the machine, we place the bias and we pass a stitch on the edge of the bias and the other edge. Fold in half the piece of the pocket and sew them for one side and also on the other one. Cut the excess of the fabric and cut the corners, and then we have to turn the piece. With the help of the pattern, we're going to make a mark because we need to know where is going the pocket. We continue with the lining with the facing piece of the pocket, so we're going to face the right of the fabrics, and then we're going to place the piece of the pocket, and next to the piece we place the pocket. Then we're going to place the lining on top of the other piece. Face the right of the pocket and sew them. Now we place the other piece on the mark that we just made and we sew them. Place on top the other piece of the pocket, face the right, and sew them. We take the other piece of the pocket, we place on front of the other pieces of the pocket, and we sew them. We face the back of the front piece and we cut in the middle of the stitches, and we have to cut in diagonal until the stitch. Then we pull the pockets through the gap. Then we take the little triangle and we pass a stitch on the sides. Sew the dip of the pocket. And now we pass a stitch on the pocket. We have to pass a stitch on the sides. We're going to sew the front and back pieces, so we're going to face the rights and we're going to close on the shoulders. Continue with the collar. This is the collar. We're going to face the rights and we're going to close on the center of the collar. Now we face the backs of the collar and then we're going to place the bias around of the collar. We continue with the piece of the back. Also, we're going to face the backs of the fabrics and then we're going to place the bias around of the piece. Face the backs of the collars and sew them all around, except the base of the collar. Place the bias. We have to open the bias and face the rights of the fabrics and sew them on the fold. Snip the curves of the collar. Fold the bias and pass a stitch on the edge of the bias. Face the backs of the pieces and sew them around of the piece, all around. Place the bias and sew them on the edge of the bias. Now we're going to place the collar. So we start from the center back. You have to match the shoulders and the notches. Then we're going to close the sides. Then we're going to make the sleeve, so we're going to fold in half and sew on the side. This is the collar. We are placing the collar around of the neckline, so you have to match the notches and the center back and sew them around of the neckline. This is the side. We face the rights and we sew them on the sides. We continue with the sleeve then, and we're going to fold in half and we're going to sew on the side. Pass a stitch on the head of the sleeve from the notch to the notch. And now we're going to place the sleeve, so you have to match the notches and the shoulder and the side. We continue with the other fabric. We're going to face the rights of the fabric and sew on the shoulder and sew on the sides. This is the sleeve. We're going to fold in half and we're going to face the rights of the sleeve. Sew on the sides. And sew on the shoulders. We fold in half the sleeve and we sew them on the side. This is the head of the sleeve. We have to pass a stitch from the notch to the notch. Place the sleeve and remember you have to match the notches. Place the sleeve. You have to match the shoulders and the notches and the side. Start from the side, sew them all around of the handle, and repeat the same process as we made for this one for the other sleeve. Now we're going to join the lining with the main fabric, so we start around of the neckline. So you have to face the rights of the fabric. Then we're going to pass a stitch for hold the lining with the main fabric, so we're going to pass a stitch around of the cuff and around of the jacket. This is the neckline. So we're going to face the right of the fabric and we're going to sew them around of the neckline. Snip the curves. Then we're going to turn the lining. So we're going to face the backs of the fabrics and then we're going to pass a stitch around of the jacket. We face the backs of the fabrics and we have to pass a stitch around of the jacket. We start from the center front and continue to all around of the jacket. This is the cuff. Also, we have to pass a stitch around of the cuff for hold the lining with the main fabric. And now we're going to place the bias. We have to face the right of the fabric with the bias and we're going to pin it around of the jacket. So we start from the center front and continue to all around. Then we have to place the bias around of the cuff. So we're going to face the rights of the fabrics. Place the bias, face the rights and sew them on the fold. Then cut the excess of the bias and cut the excess of the fabric around of the bias. And now fold the bias and pass a stitch on the edge. Continue to the other side. We fold the bias and we pass a stitch on the edge. Also, we fold and we pass a stitch on the edge. We continue with the cuff. We face the right of the bias with the fabric and we pass a stitch on the fold. Then fold the bias and pass a stitch on the edge. We're going to place the piece of the back. So with the help of the pattern, we're going to make a mark because we need to know where is going the piece. We take the button and by hand we're going to place the button. And also we're going to hold the piece with the stitch. And we have finished our jacket. We place the buttons on the front and we made the buttonhole. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you smash the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tutorials. You can find this pattern on the magazine Patrones Infantiles number 17 and the links are below. We'll see you in another video very soon. Bye!